Hi, everybody. I'm Lynn Barrett, President of the Board of the Commons, Vermont Independent Media, publisher of the Commons newspaper. We have a great event for you tonight with some terrific, well-known photographers from the area and one from afar. And I think you'll be very excited to hear from her as well. Joyce Marcel is our moderator tonight. She's a reporter, top reporter for Vermont Business Magazine and also now for the Commons as well. We're going to start the show off with some historic photos. The name of this event tonight, as you know, is "A Photo is Worth 1,000 Words." And I think this will get us in the mood. So take it away.
Hi, everyone, and welcome. One picture is worth 1,000 words, and some of those images were worth a lot more. It's kind of shocking to see them up close, those pictures that we've just seen. The one of the man falling out of the World Trade Center has haunted me for a decade. It was so shocking to people that after it appeared in the newspapers, I think it was the New York Times, they refused to publish it again, and you didn't see it for years. Someone finally made a sculpture of that man falling, and then the picture became available in more places, but they wouldn't even let you see that because it was so important. And I think there's general consensus that little girl running from napalm in Vietnam brought the war to a more rapid end than it would have been otherwise. There are some of those pictures were staged. Dolly, of course, was staged, but that little guy confronting the tanks in Tiananmen Square, I don't know if we'll ever live that one down. So what are we talking about here with one image is worth 1,000 words? We're talking about photojournalism. And photojournalism is actually a new kind of art form. Until the 1830s, they didn't have the technology to put a picture on a page. All of those photos that we remember seeing of Matthew Brady, the Civil War photos, they were all woodcuts when they appeared in the newspapers, because they didn't have the technology yet. It took the end of the century before you could get a photo on a page. The last century, not this century. Now it's digital. You can get 1 million photos on a page. But we are going to talk about the images tonight. We have 3 photojournalists to speak to. We have, first of all, Kelly Fletcher, who is a documentary photographer who focuses on connections, narratives, and the upside of humanity. Excuse me, I'm going to be reading this. Working throughout New England, she uses the language of images to chronicle life for families, publications, communities, organizations, and the natural world. She is inspired by people's stories and the moments that arise from the intersection of honesty, vulnerability, curiosity, and connection. Our next speaker will be Ziagul Azimi, who has 8 years of experience as chief editor of the Afghanistan Women's News Agency. She is now living in Brattleboro, and her story is remarkable. She'll be telling you what happened to her. And as we know, when the Taliban came in, their, pardon the expression, idiot views on women, have chased her and quite a few other women out of Afghanistan, where they will be missed in the culture. Kris Radder has been working as a photojournalist since 2007, before moving into newspapers full time. He worked with a non-government organization called Project Hope. During that time, he traveled with the United States military and documented their efforts to deliver humanitarian civil assistance around the world. In 2012, he worked for the Press and Sun Bulletin in Binghamton, New York. And then in 2015, he moved to New England to work for the Brattleboro Reformer. So I think we're going to start by talking to Kelly. So why don't you tell us how you got into this a little bit? Okay, don't.
I will. Sorry. So I came a long way to this place I'm at now with photography. I think it's always been my best voice. When you get your first camera, I was 12, and I came and went throughout my life. I went to college, I studied something completely different, and then I got out of college and I did something completely different and raised my family. And I think photography was just always, it would ebb and flow with me. And I'm really glad it's here with me now, because I feel like, I don't know, I just process the world so much better with the camera in my hand. I just love finding these little moments and sharing people's stories that way. I'm generally a quiet person, so I'm just better through photos than I am, I'd say, probably through my voice.
Okay. I'm assuming this is one of your photos.
It is. Okay.
Goodness,
so
what's going on?
all right. So I guess the most important thing to know is I'm not I consider myself a documentary photographer, and that kind of puts me into a variety of roles. So, like for the last week, I was covering for Kris while he was on vacation, and sometimes I shoot events, sometimes weddings, sometimes I'm just capturing things that are happening for a business, or sometimes I just take walks and find stuff to photograph. This obviously was a wedding, which I really don't shoot very many weddings, but when you're talking about photography, it's just about, you just have to be in the moment. You got to be ready for anything. And this is a very good example of that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Okay. So this was, I think you could probably guess what this is, Strolling of the Heifers. And there's times when, I have a job to do, and the nature of those jobs is always different. So for Strolling of the Heifers, it's a pretty overwhelming event. So, when you ask about obstacles to overcome, overwhelm is definitely one of them. So you try to just hone in on, you try to quiet your mind and find the moments, find the light, find where you think there's potential for something to happen, and you put yourself there. So this is obviously after the parade, and everybody's exhausted, and just the connection between these two just happened in front of me. And it was just there. So you got to have your camera up all the time. You have to be ready. You've got to have your settings dialed in and ready to go. Oh my goodness. Okay.
Before we go into this one, can I just ask you, did you send that photo of the kid with the cow to him? Has he seen it?
I don't know. Truthfully, I delivered these to Strolling of the Heifers, and I don't believe I did. So,
well, do it sometime this week, because this is an extraordinary photo.
It's beautiful, very
So
sweet.
loving.
I know. So I know.
Okay, not loving. What's this?
So this is when I was covering for Kris another time, and this is a rapid swiftwater rescue training. And I think this was at the end of March, a few years back. So yeah, this is just the rescue team diving in and pretending to rescue people. And I just loved this moment when he was just completely outstretched, about to hit the water. Yeah, another instance where you just have to be ready with your settings and ready to go. And, you know,
Are you standing in the water or on the bank?
I'm on the bank, but very I think there was another rock outcropping that went a little bit further in towards the water. So I was able to get that perspective. And you know, and that's the other thing about photography. Like you're always looking for just the right angle. Like you know, just you want to be in just the right spot, and you have to try different angles, high, low, near, far, and you're constantly maneuvering to try to get in the right spot.
Well, you certainly were in the right spot here.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on.
Okay. This
I just looked at the kid.
I know. That's the best part about this photo, isn't it? Like,
oh,
yeah. This is the ski jump, his first.
That's amazing. That is absolutely amazing.
So
how many shots did you get of him?
This was the only one that worked.
Oh my God.
And yeah, but this is full disclosure. This is my daughter, my grandson, and my son who happened to be there. So they were very I mean, and this happened organically. This wasn't me saying, Galen, point your finger and see what happens. No, this happened for real, and the ski jumpers flying overhead. So yeah. And this is, you know, kind of this same theme of just, you know, it was easy with them because I know them, but all day, this is what you do with the ski jump is you place yourself in a spot where, you know, it's not just about the skiers jumping off, you know, doing the amazing things that they're doing. It's about the crowd and their amazement and I don't know, so many other things. It's the skiers when they're coming down in the outrun and feeling either happy or discouraged with their jump. So it's all of that. So it's the humanity piece that I'm always looking for. It's not like I'm not like choosing my subjects. I'm mostly like looking for where it's at. Like, where am I going to find a moment? I hope you can see this one. I was going to crop this tighter. It just didn't work because I really wanted you to see this. So this was, again, I was covering for the paper, and this is the Saxtons River 4th of July parade last year. And after the parade, I just, you know, it's important, I think, also to just stay curious, to walk around, nose around, see what you find. And so the parade was over, and these people just like, I was just loved how exhausted they looked. Like, right, they're like under the shade tree. He's got his 4th of July hat on. The guy who's been pedaling that thing around is just like, oh my God, I just need to sit here for a minute. So, I mean, and this is just one of those quiet moments that, you know, you just stumble upon. Like, you just have to stay open for these moments. Yeah, staying open is.
Did they know you were taking the photo?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah.
No. And I had to stand right in the middle of the road to take it, to get the right angle at it. But yeah.
Okay, before we go on, I have to say that I forgot to mention in the beginning that we welcome questions, and just type them in the chat. And when they come out, I will read them and we'll get some answers. So I apologize for not saying
Please.
that in the beginning.
Yeah, that would be great. Questions would be great.
Somebody just said that the arrow in this picture is the best part of it.
Oh, that's funny. There's also, I did crop out, there's like a little barrier to the right that I also felt like told part of the story. And that's the other thing. You know, you want to include in the frame, you know, supporting details for your story and omit whatever is not part of the story. So be very choosy about what's in your frame and what's not. What's not is just as important as what is.
Good point.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, we can move on.
Yeah.
Okay, he's
Okay.
not happy.
So he's exhausted. I'm at the finish. So this is another, you know, I just positioned myself at the finish directly in front of where they would be skiing in at the finish line. And yeah, this is just, I just felt like this image says, you know, how everybody feels at the end of a race. That's, I don't know, however long it was. Grueling, though, for sure. Yeah. Okay. This image I took at Greenfield Community College's graduation commencement last year. And I got lucky with this one. I just happened to, you know, you just scan the room, like you just look for, you know, where's it going to happen? And you really have to trust your gut sometimes, because there's so many things, so many moments that are happening at these events, just like a wedding, and you're not going to get them all, but you just have to try to position yourself and just keep looking everywhere for moments. And I just loved that her hat said future doctor on it. It was just so appropriate. Like if it didn't say that, I don't know, it would still be a very sweet photo, but the fact that the empathy that comes along with her caring for this person just really spoke to me.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
Yeah. So I think it's some part in the question that you sent to me, you asked about like at what point does the camera come in? And so this was, again, I was covering for the Reformer this is last year, Sugar on Snow, and I was blessed to have it actually be snowing outside. When kids are involved, I always seek out the parent first before I shoot. I never, unless you can't really identify them. But if I'm very, I like to be upfront. I like people to trust me with my camera. And when parents see me asking permission before I even point the camera at their child, I think they appreciate that. And there's a lot of events, that I shoot sometimes where it's hard. And sometimes I lose the moment, or sometimes I'll shoot and then find the parent and ask. And but I always, especially in a public event, I can take anybody's picture in a public place, but I don't, I take that extra step and get permission. I just feel better about it that way.
Yeah. Are there other boundaries that you push or try to not push?
So I'm not really a boundary pusher. I'm a rule follower. And I usually ask like what the ground rules are. It depends, like maybe not in this situation, but Oh, well, like, for example, last week when I photographed Ash Wednesday for Kris at the Roman Catholic Church, I met with the priest ahead of time. Where can I go? Where can I not go? I don't know. I just like to know what the ground rules are because I don't, and people appreciate that. They like, it builds trust, and trust is, I couldn't do this job if somebody didn't trust me with my camera. I feel like it's a really important part of what I do. So I make every effort. All the situations are different, but I do make an effort to build trust with people first, if it's an option. Yeah.
If you had to put a caption on this photo, what do you think it would be?
Oh, oh my gosh, I'm so bad with words. So much better with pictures.
Joyce, that's your job. Or get Randy. Randy's on the call, isn't he?
Randy is on the call, yes.
Yes. Yeah.
I am married to a photojournalist, so I know this. But I can't figure out if it's deliciousness or being a slob. So
I think it's delicious.
Okay, let's move on before anyone gets upset.
I know. Okay.
Here somebody came up with one. Yum, one drop at a time.
Oh, I love it. It's perfect.
Okay. So what's this one about?
Okay, so this was a moment this has happened several years ago. This portrait hangs in Brattleboro, in the lobby in Brattleboro Memorial Hospital. And I was there. I was there to photograph the unveiling of it. The artist, was hanging there on the wall with a sheet over it. And the artist was there. I wish I could remember his name. Young guy. And these two were benefactors of the hospital. And this man in the foreground is their son. And so when the portrait was unveiled, he became emotional. And I just, you position yourself, you get your settings dialed in, and you're ready for the moment. Like, I had a feeling that, you never know what's going to happen, but you just have to be ready for it.
That's astonishing. That shot.
Yeah. That one touches me, and it's a long time ago that I took this, but it's still definitely still.
You can really feel his pain.
You can, and those people, they're just staring at us.
I know.
Okay, can we go back to the kid with the maple? There we go.
Yeah.
Because people are kicking in titles now.
Oh, I love it. That's so
Someone
great.
is saying life is sweet.
Oh, that's a good one.
And someone else is saying, good. And then there's
Perfect.
Yum, one drop at a time. So we tapped into a little creativity. Thank you all very much.
That's wonderful.
Let's move on.
Yeah.
I don't want to touch this one. What is it?
So I'm just a sucker for a good silhouette. I love them. This was, again, I was covering for Kris for the paper. This was May Day last year, and the Morris, oh shoot, my light just went off. Hold on one sec. Okay, sorry. I was covering for Kris, and the Morris dancers and the general public go up on May Day and welcome the sunrise on top of Putney Mountain. So I don't know, we were all up there at some very early hour, 5:30 or something. And it was a beautiful, beautiful morning. So I was really happy to be there. And I just love the reverie of it and the celebration and the sunset coming behind it. It's just, I had to get a silhouette. I just love silhouettes.
Okay.
Yeah.
You can tell they're happy.
Yeah, it was a wonderful morning. I put a lot of pictures in here, but you don't have to show them. Maybe that was all of them. Maybe that was all.
We may have done that. Are we done?
Maybe. Yeah, there's,
That was all 10.
Okay, perfect.
Kelly's 10.
Which was more than the 4 that Jeff told me to. I wasn't expecting to go so fast.
And
Are there any?
Can I ask a question, Kelly?
Yes, please. Yeah.
How do you create that silhouette? Because the sky is sort of light and they're all dark. How do you do that?
You underexpose your frame in this sense. So, yeah. So you just like whatever your camera thinks that it should be, you drop it. Like you increase your shutter speed or your aperture or something to make the scene a little bit darker. And it's a little more dramatic. I really like to underexpose things sometimes, except for when I work for the paper, because then it gets can't print that well. That drama doesn't print very well in the paper. But in general, I love a good underexposed photo in the right circumstance. Yeah.
If somebody is suggesting expose for the sky.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you. Well said.
Okay,
Yes.
so is that, these are remarkable photos. I could watch them all day.
Oh,
Kelly, would you mind if I asked a question?
please ask away.
I'm curious why you chose black and white for this photograph.
You know why I did? It's a good question. So the rule of thumb that I follow, that I like to follow, is if the color has an impact, use it. And if it doesn't, don't. I found, so the interesting thing here is they actually, like, I think the girl that was crying had blue hair, and I think the future doctor might have had pink hair. And I found it distracting. I felt like it took away from the moment. Although it's just a different way of interpreting it. I liked the moment for what it was. And I also like more emotional moments to be black and white. For some reason, I just gravitate towards that. Yeah, it's a good question. And it's just a completely subjective. And yeah,
I have a question to pile onto that question, which is, I am not good as a photographer, and even though I have a good camera, one camera, and is it just a switch you flick to make it color or black and white?
You can do it that way. I do it in post. I do it in Lightroom now.
Really?
Yeah, I shoot everything in color, and then in Lightroom, flip it to black and white.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, and someone wants to say color can be distracting.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Okay, obviously, Ken Signorello is very experienced because he's the one who's giving us most of this stuff. So
I'm glad he's filling in the gaps of what I'm missing. That's great. Thank you, Ken.
Okay, someone else wants to know, when flipping in the darkroom, do you lose any resolution or contrast?
I shoot in RAW format, so no. I'm not as good technically, but I think if when you shoot in RAW, you have more ability to be creative with your photos afterwards. If you shoot in JPEG, you have less latitude in post.
Okay. Bit more depth in RAW, Ken is saying. Might as well give everybody.
I think he might mean, and I'm not 100% sure, more depth in the file itself. So you have
still depth.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that was fascinating. Is there anything else that you want to add?
I don't think so. I'm trying to be I'm trying to teach, like kind of tell people like what works, what doesn't, I suppose. But so instead of just talking about my images, I'm hoping that I'm enlightening people somehow. But no, that's all. That's it. Just
Okay, then
Yeah.
Sally wants to tell you, Kelly, you are so talented! Exclamation point. How do you decide when you've shot several photos of the same scene, which one is the best? I have a
Oh
hard
my
time with
gosh.
that.
Yeah, that's a great question. There's subtle differences, and I'm a really bad decision maker, truthfully, but here's something that I did want to point out. When you're framing your photos, I like to have a good clean image, like a nice clean bubble around everybody's head. So like if I've taken several photos and someone's hand is, in somebody else's space, or I don't know, it's subtle differences. It's expression. It's just how the frame is. It's whether somebody's in the background is like sneezing or something. I don't know. It's just like you kind of narrow it down. Say you've taken 10, then you narrow it down to 5. And then from those 5, you narrow it down. There's one that stands out of it eventually after you look at them long enough and analyze it to death.
Okay, well, thank you very, very
Thank you.
much. Kris.
Thank you, Sally, by the way.
Oh, Brattleboro Community Television to everyone. Thank you, Kelly.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you.
So we'll now move to our second guest, Ziagul. And can we get her up on the screen?
You must be in speaker view, Joyce.
Okay.
Hello.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can, but I can't see you. I can see Lynn.
You can see me?
Now I can see you. Perfect.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, you look beautiful.
Okay.
So I think people would like to hear just what happened, what you were doing in Afghanistan before, and what happened once the Americans left and the Taliban took over. So
Okay.
I'm not going to interrupt you, just speak.
Okay. Hello, everyone. First of all, thank you for giving me this opportunity. And this has become an excuse for me to remember the suffering woman of my country. As you said, I was a journalist in Afghanistan, and I worked as a reporter and also a photographer for almost 8 years. And we had a website in Afghanistan, which is called Afghanistan Women News Agency. And this is an honor for me that I worked with this website about 5 years. Unfortunately, when the Taliban took over of Afghanistan, on 2021, I had to leave my country because, Taliban took everything from the women. And when I were in Afghanistan, I don't have any opportunity to continue my work as a journalist in there.
So you were covering difficult topics, I understand, such as domestic violence within a culture that didn't care about women's voices. It was dangerous for you even before the Taliban, am I right?
Yes, that was not easy for us before the Taliban because of mostly people in Afghanistan. They have traditional view about the women's issues. But before that, as you said, that was not easy for us. And when the Taliban came, they took everything, even our activities as a journalist or reporter or photographer.
So what brought you to photojournalism?
Yes, I write you just two photos. I had many photos and reports about the situation of women in different fields, but unfortunately, when I left Afghanistan, I had to delete some of those photos, and I don't have access with some of those photos. And in this program, I just bring to you just two photos, and which is, I don't know, you can see it on the screen or no?
We will be able to see them.
There we go.
Yeah. As you see, this photo is from a woman. Her name is General Ziagul Azimi, a woman who spent many years in the Afghan army as a soldier. And I took this photo of her on soldier days. And I just want to know your view about and your comment about these photos, because in my view, this photo shows the self-confidence, authority, and endurance of the soldier. And I like this photo very much. And I get energy from in every time I see it, because courage and perseverance can be seen in this woman's face. And the next photo is the next photo is of a working child. Her name is Nasreen. She has been the only breadwinner for her family of 6 for several years on the street of Herat. Herat is my province, and that is one of the biggest city in Afghanistan. And she earned money by cleaning and painting shoes. And as you see, maybe you have been asked about the cover of this girl. Yes, in Afghanistan, due to the traditional nature of most of families, it is believed that the woman cannot work outside the home like men. And if a girl wants to work outside the home, she will be harassed. No one know her, and she worked with his face and body completely covered.
Is she able to make a living doing that?
For now, I don't have information about her situation, unfortunately. But but I'm sure she is living here yet. There.
And how old is this?
It's about, she was about, I think, 12 years or 13 years old.
Oh my.
Oh,
Where is this taken?
Sorry?
Where is this?
She's in Herat, in my province. Herat is one of biggest city in Afghanistan.
But she's outside somewhere?
Yes, she is. When I took this picture from her, she was on an event, but she is always working on the street, the different places in Herat.
Okay, I have a question about the first picture.
Okay.
What do you think has happened to her?
Unfortunately, I don't have exact information about her also, but I think she left Afghanistan also, because as you know, when Taliban took over Afghanistan, many people left Afghanistan, and especially the army people or soldier. I think she left Afghanistan. Maybe she came in the United States.
Wow.
Yeah.
do you know how many women soldiers there were about? Were there a lot or not so many?
On that time or now?
At that time.
That time we had many women soldiers in Afghanistan, but unfortunately we don't have any women soldier in Afghanistan.
Yeah. So you could be a soldier, but you can't go outside and work.
Yeah. Yes.
Is there any way that you can explain why women are so devalued in this culture?
There is many reasons for this situation for the women in Afghanistan. As you know, mostly women, mostly people in Afghanistan, they are non-educated. And for this reason, they have a traditional view about the women. And the other hand, it's in Afghanistan, there were for many years there were war, and for this reason, the people on there their mind can change a little, not too much, but for this reason they can't accept that to working the woman outside the home.
It's just very different from the way we feel. So
Yes.
It's hard to understand.
It's very hard to understand. Yes, I know that.
It sounds very ignorant to me to lose so much. When you lose women, it's one half of your country. So you go, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No problem. You can ask.
Are you taking pictures here? Do you have your camera?
No, unfortunately, I don't have any camera in here to take a picture because, you know, I mean, Brattleboro has a beautiful nature. And when I see some nature place in here, I take picture from my cell phone. But unfortunately, I don't have a camera to take a picture like in Afghanistan.
Well, I think you're going to get a camera very quickly.
Maybe in the future.
Yes. All 25 of you who are listening right now, get a camera over to Ziagul immediately. So do we have any questions for her? I'm not having any questions in the chat. I guess not. I think we would like to see many, many more pictures.
Oh,
here's one.
For the next program, if I buy a camera, I will share with you 1,000 photos from Brattleboro.
It would be interesting to see what images you would take, having come from Afghanistan and then coming here to see, you know, what would interest you.
In here, I like to take picture from the nature because Brattleboro has a beautiful nature, which is I didn't see any place like in here. And if I find a camera, I want to take picture from the nature and also from some place which is like historical. And yeah.
Okay, I have some questions here now. Ziagul, how are you able to choose a different path?
When I see like a place and I can imagine that I can thinking about that if I take a picture from this side, from this place, it could be very good, and it's make a very good or beautiful photo. And that's my view about the path, or about the, like we call it in Dari Suja.
Do you want to continue with journalism?
I want to continue with journalism, but unfortunately, I just started learning English when I came in here, and but for now it's not possible for me, and still I'm learning English. Maybe in the future I will try to continue my working as a journalist in here.
It's, I have to tell you that your English is fine.
Thank you.
It's coming
I-
very good.
Thank you.
Okay, someone is suggesting possible sources for a camera. What about Insight Photography or the Vermont Center for Photography? Jeff, you're listening, get on that. Okay, here is a comment. The soldier's pride and discipline are evident, and her shoulders parallel to the horizon seem to suggest carrying the country. Well done, very evocative. And someone else wants to know, did you get beyond Herat much while doing your work? And if so, where?
Okay, the second question was about that. Could you explain for me? Sorry.
Did you get work outside of Herat?
Yes.
Where?
He's asking about my working outside in Herat.
Question, yes.
Yeah, when I was as a reporter in Herat, I worked many places outside in Herat, especially on the countryside, I think, because they're living the woman, and they have a different situation from the city woman. I went many places, and I took picture, and also I create many reports about the women on this place.
Did you have to earn the trust of the people you were photographing?
Unfortunately, yes, but the people, as I mentioned before, the people, they have traditional view about the working the woman, like as a journalist, and they always try to stop the woman, especially the women journalists.
Really? Could you tell me or describe a story that you thought of or saw that needed to be told, and how you went about it?
About I just want to share, if I get your if I understand your question, but I went in a place in Herat to create a report about the women's. There was a women, they sold yogurt, and and they have they had a special covering, I mean their clothes, and that place was very dangerous for women, also especially for women journalists. And when I went there was many people on that place, and there was two men. They during I getting the interview, they follow me, and they told me, who are you and what do you do in here, and why are you in here? And after that, but I finished my report, and after that I left there, and unfortunately they follow me until I arrived in my office. And unfortunately we can't report all these things for the police station because of the Herat situation, or these things was not good for like for a woman to be go to the police station and speak with the police station about these things.
Wow. So you were in danger doing your work even before the Taliban took over.
Yes, unfortunately. This is the situation. I mean, the women in Afghanistan situation for many years, or maybe for several years.
Well, then you're very brave.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, I don't have any more questions, so thank you, Ziagul.
Thank you
That-
very much.
You're amazing.
Thank
Just
you so much.
amazing.
Thank
And
you for giving me this opportunity. Thank you so much.
I truly hope that you find a way back to journalism very quickly.
I hope so. Thank
I
you.
think we need you.
Thank you so much. I hope so.
Okay, moving on. Kris, are you there? Your cat, anything?
I'm here.
Okay, great. So we're going to, you're photographing history in Brattleboro. You want to talk about how you're doing that and what you're looking for?
Yeah, I always say, well, I don't say it, but it was always a saying taught to me in college was that photojournalism is the rough draft of history. You're taking the photo that people will then write about and see that'll describe an event for years to come.
Like the pictures that we saw at the beginning.
Yeah. But I mean, journalism as a whole is a fantastic thing because it's one way that we can try to keep everybody honest, and it's another way to shine light onto things that people might not even notice, see. And the great thing is, my one college professor always told me the eye eats first. The thing that draws you to a story is the photo.
Yes, well, let's see some. And this is?
So this was this man unfortunately just killed a person.
Oh my
She was
God.
jaywalking in the street, and you can see the sense of grief on him. And in the corner, you'll notice the sandals and all that where the person once was. And it was just one of those moments in history is like you're documenting what could be this person's worst day in their life. But it's also a reminder to the community that jaywalking is very dangerous and it has real world ramifications on that driver. This driver will forever have that feeling of guilt of what could I've done. And in the end, it wasn't his fault.
Could you explain how you got to be there?
Luck. That's 90% of photojournalism is just being lucky, being in the right spot at the right time. Always being aware of your surrounding and knowing what's going on.
So you were just passing when this happened, or you were out, you had called out because you followed the police?
Somebody gave us a tip.
Ah,
Somebody gave us a tip, and I quickly got in the car and I was there within moments. And that's 95% of like breaking news is members of the community reaching out, commenting like, hey, there's something going on, you should look into it.
okay. That's a tragic shot. Okay, let's move on. What is this?
So this was a feature story about a diver. This was in Shenango Forks back in upstate New York. And she won several state titles for diving. So I thought it'd be a good idea to get a photo of her going into the water. So I put on my bathing suit, I put on a housing unit of the camera, and I held my breath for as long as I could, floating under the water to get this photo.
It's a beautiful
And,
shot.
and that's all like photography and journalism is creating the angles, like Kelly said earlier, you got to know what's happening around you, and you got to create those angles. You got to create those moments.
Wow. That's beautiful. Okay, moving on.
So this was at a candlelight vigil in Winchester. This was after a 10-year-old boy was struck and killed sledding. And this was the candlelight vigil at that location. This is just the family all coming together, the family and the community. And one of the more amazing things about this event was how many people showed up. Like hundreds of people came out to pay respect to this kid that was no longer with us, to remember a life lost.
Yes.
This is just election day. Like whenever you're covering election day, it's always the same photo. It's always people in the ballot box or somebody casting a ballot. So I always try to look for the strange, look for the unique. A lot of times I look for parents bringing their little kids to the polling station, like getting their first eye on democracy. But this one just really caught my eye, just the little puppy.
It's adorable. Okay.
So I think it's in Vermont's nature, the power of protest. And that's one thing I've gotten really good at being around here is documenting protests. And people are very passionate, as they should be, for every cause. And it's very heartwarming to see the type of passion that runs deep in this community for the love and respect that they have for everyone and kind of showing their unity together.
So is she for or against Black Lives Matter?
She was for it. This was after that said Black Lives Matter is racist. This spray paint was showing up all around the community, and the members of Putney gathered together to put love and respect for one another above all else.
Ah.
And this is another. Yep, this is another like Black Lives Matter rally in downtown Brattleboro, and like I said, that's the main thing in this community is documenting issues that matter, and especially young voices that matter, getting their message out to the public, so that way they know they're being heard and their message is reaching a broader audience. This was just like a fun graduation photo in Hinsdale during the times of COVID when they had to find different ways to do graduations, and this was at the Northfield Drive-In. And just kind of like what Kelly said with the whole silhouettes, it's just fun playing with silhouettes at times. This was also during COVID, like that lost connection that was happening. And so this son got to communicate with I believe it was a son. It's been a while since I've read the caption and all that or lived that moment, so I might be mistaken, and I do apologize if I am. I believe it was his son, a son talking to his mother in a way like that there was still social distancing, but you can still see the love for one another.
Yeah.
And this, I always felt like whenever we had to get that little thing up our nose for testing was always like a dramatic experience. So like I just fell in love with the lighting of this. It kind of felt like Space Odyssey to me, like taking this photo. But I've always had a passion for photographing medicine, going throughout, doing my work with Project Hope. I really learned a lot about going and documenting medical stuff. I would go into various clinics, surgery rooms, and all these different places, and just kind of show what was going on. So this kind of took me back to like my early days of photography.
Oh my God. What happened to
This
you?
was when I was working with the United States Navy. This photo was taken in Vietnam. I was on the hospital ship USNS Mercy, and the mother's uncle threw a gallon of gasoline into the house, and the mother rushed in to save her daughter's life. And we were running a medical clinic in Vietnam in Hanoi City, and she came with her kid. And we had this new technology on board the ship that was created from soldiers that were hit with IEDs from Iraq and Afghanistan. And we brought this technology over to some of this other parts where we were able to, when you get third degree burns at such a extent, it will prevent the skin from expanding. And so with this new laser, we were able to penetrate the skin to allow the skin to grow and breathe. And so this was after the procedure, and you could just see the love in the mother's face looking at her child in recovery.
So
And I
this-
can say, and after this photo, 4 hours later, the kid walked for the very first time in several months of the fire. And because of this photo, we were able to convince the Department of Defense to bring this laser technology back to the city 3 more times in the course of her life to help expand the skin. And then we were also able to get the uncle to be put on Interpol because he fled to China after the incident.
do we know why he did that?
It was over a bar tab.
Oh,
They were arguing over money.
wow. Okay. And this one?
And so this is just like this was just this kind of showed like an NGO with the US military working together to help do a very small like medical procedure of just not, yeah, it was just a simple medical procedure, and then like the mother comforting the kid, and just like the teamwork between both non-government and government organizations coming together for the benefit of a community.
I have a question for you here, and this could be answered by all three of you. You've shared some very intense photos, and I wonder how, as a photojournalist, you walk that ethical line of telling and showing truth versus shielding the privacy pain of the subjects.
I always feel like the community should know what's going on. You shouldn't shield the truth, and we should always show what's going on, because nothing will ever change if we hide away.
Amen. Okay, moving on.
This was in Papua New Guinea. One of those like moments. These kids like rushed this Marine, just enjoying his company. He was like playing soccer with them and all that, and they just wanted their photo with him. Yeah, sometimes when you're photographing courts, you'll get these random moments, or because you're not. A lot of times in journalism is you're kind of documenting the people's worst moments. A lot of times, sometimes they're photographing their best moments too. Unfortunately, I don't think this was his best moment.
Is this in Brattleboro?
Yeah, that was in Brattleboro.
Do you know why he was in chains?
I would hate to speculate just because it's been so long. So at this time, I don't know.
Okay. He didn't like you.
But then he was laughing afterwards. It's really covering the courts is a very interesting thing. Just military member comforting just a kid like that's come to one of our med sites. Just like even though they come from different backgrounds, they still are united by that human bond. I thought people just like Tony Bennett. I think this was one of his last shows in upstate New York. I think this was Serenity, and she does this great performance where she does this tree dance, and just the colors of the leaves just kind of popped out and caught my eye for the most part for this. And just like looking for different angles. So I was laying down photographing this going up. And yeah, that was just like a small yeah, and that was just a small snippet of my career. Like there's taken thousands upon thousands of photos. It's always hard to pick.
Could you talk a little bit about the video aspect of what you're doing?
Yeah, video is very important in photojournalism nowadays. It doesn't just offer a still image, but it gives you the sights and sounds of what's going on. It gives a person a more in-depth look of the world around, and it gives your subject a voice in the story. That is not something that a writer can do. It's not something that a photo can do, but to share their physical voice with the community probably impacts the story a lot more.
Okay. Is what's happening with artificial intelligence with photos and video? And somebody wants to know, should we be concerned?
I would say yes. You should be very concerned about artificial intelligence taking over photos and all that. I mean, if people can, the thing about photojournalism is being honest and truthful. There's the famous ethical case that always came up in journalism school was the O.J. Simpson photo. There was two of them, and one was set darker, which presumed guilty. So that's the fear with artificial intelligence is like if you type it certain things, you could alter the image, and you're then distorting reality. And that's something as a journalist, as a photojournalist, we want to show the truth and not distort the reality. I don't want to hide anything from the community. And I want the community to understand what's going on and that I'm presenting the truth as seen in front of my camera lens and not give them something that's going to be fake.
And so we should be concerned because fake news is now fake photos as well.
Yeah, I mean, you don't want to. If you lose the trust of the community, then who do you trust?
Well, that's the question, isn't it? Okay. Do we have any questions for anyone from the participants? I don't think so. I think we've covered everything. So does anyone have anything else that they want to say?
I just want to say that it's been a great honor to share the stage with two incredibly talented people. So I'm quite thankful for being a part of this.
Well, we're glad to have you too. I think I would like to see that slideshow that we showed at the beginning again. Maybe now it will have even more resonance. Now that we've talked about the picture image, can we do that, BCTV? Maybe they went home.
We were going to show it at the
Hey,
end, Joyce. but
Joyce,
maybe-
we
we
can
go.
show it. I just wanted to point out that there is a question in the chat.
There is?
And I'm happy to read it.
Go ahead.
It's for Kris. You've shared some very intense photos, and I wonder how, as a photojournalist, this is for everyone, I guess, you walk that ethical line of telling and showing truth versus shielding the privacy pain of the subjects. This
Yeah,
is
we
for all
already asked
panelists.
that.
Yeah. We
Oh,
had
you
that.
did? Okay.
But I'd be more than happy to let Kelly and all the rest talk how they feel.
That's definitely an area that I'm not good at. But you do, I mean, yes, you have to kind of separate yourself from it a little bit. And just do your job, right? It's your job. You gotta, like Kris said, you're telling truth, you're capturing history, you're sharing a story. And it's hard for me because I really like to focus on the upside of humanity. And I like to make people feel good when they see an image. Because truthfully, I feel like we have the power to shift consciousness to a more positive and hopeful, surrounding. There's so much, we do see a lot of, there's a lot of bad stuff going on out there. And I don't know, every time Kris goes away, I'm terrified there's going to be a fire or a murder or something that I have to photograph that I don't want to. And I'm just grateful that didn't happen this week, because that's definitely not my, Kris is very good at it. It's definitely a barrier for me, and one that I have to work on if I'm going to do that kind of work, for sure.
The one trick I learned when you go to breaking news, and it's a first responder told me this, is like, unfortunately, you always have to find the humor in everything, no matter where you are. Because if you start going down that path, there's no coming back.
Mm.
Going down the path of what exactly?
Darkness, going down the path of like letting the pain, the sadness overcome you. Because it sadly killed a lot of great photographers over the years.
Mm.
It's killed a lot of great first responders, a lot of military personnel and all that.
Mm.
Okay.
Can I ask a question, Joyce?
Sure.
One of the things we mentioned is people, of course, are putting photos onto social media regularly. Are there any tips in terms of a great photo for social media that you could discuss or mention? What might grab somebody's attention versus another?
I would always stress safety first, situational awareness. Make sure whatever photo you're taking, you're safe, because no photo's worth losing your life over. Secondly, look for great lighting. Great lighting is key to a good photo. Being the master of light is true. You can tell from the great.
It's
And
true.
also, yeah, go ahead, Kelly.
I'm not a big fan of social media, but I would advise people to just, I mean, yes, light and emotion, all those things are, I don't know, in a graphically interesting frame is also important. But, when you're seeking out something to share on social media, I think, or just shooting in general, I would encourage people to just, shoot what you like, shoot what makes you happy, and don't shoot for the purpose of sharing it on social media. I think do your own thing, follow your own art and inspiration that's inside of you, and don't be too swayed by, how many likes you get, or, if it makes you happy and you're proud of it, post it. Yeah, I don't know. Social media is a funny place for sure. Yeah. Hmm.
Okay.
Sorry, I don't have any other tips for what's good and bad. I think it's all about the lighting and the emotion in the moment, right? Sorry. Yeah,
And
that's
the
all
honesty.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
And Kelly's right. Follow your passion. If something makes you happy, do it. You're only on this planet once. Live it up.
Mhm. Well, wait a minute. I do want to say one other thing, because we all perceive this world a little bit differently, right? So you might be standing in a situation with 10 other people, and you might perceive it completely different. So your voice is important, and how you observe the world is important, and you need to stay true to that. So and on social media is don't, just stay true to you.
Don't let
and
the
what you're
haters get you
shooting.
down.
Yeah, and don't let the haters get you down. There's a lot of them out there.
Yeah. Okay, moving on. We have another question. Well, someone first says, thank you very much, photographers. So we have fans. And are you able to make a living as a photojournalist? And that's to everyone. I guess not to Ziagul, not right now, but maybe soon. But Kelly and Kris? Well,
It's hard.
Mhm.
It's very hard, but with a good supportive network, anything's possible. If it wasn't for my wife, who has the most stressful job in the world, I would not be able to do what I do. And I owe her everything for allowing me to continue down this path of journalism.
Ditto. I couldn't do this if my husband didn't have a solid job with benefits and everything. I mean, I do okay, but that's not why I'm doing it. So yeah.
If you work hard and prove your worth and show people that you're willing to work and you're willing to give it your all, the jobs come and you'll make money. I mean, you just gotta keep working, you gotta keep honing your craft.
Mhm.
so Kris, are you here for the duration? Have you made a home in Brattleboro and you're not looking to get to the Boston Globe or something?
Mhm.
I actually live in Keene.
Oh. Same question.
But I mean, for now, it's my home because I have my kid here. I want to keep her on a stable footing. My passion was always going into war journalism. I would love, back in the day, I would have loved being on the front lines. Because, like, I looked at photos that Eddie Adams and all of them made back in the day, and it's like, those were powerful, moving images. But going from a global view down to a local view is you can still make those powerful images locally. Everybody is telling the global story, but very few people tell the local side. And it's good to be part of the local community. And people send me messages all the time like, hey, check this out. Hey, come over here. I've been to some of the highest moments of the community, to some sports championships, to some of the lowest sides of the community, and some of the lowest ends of a person's life. I once had the great pleasure of this guy gave me the chance to document his death of ALS. And I felt a great responsibility to tell his story. And the weird thing about documenting that whole process was the day that I started that story, I found out my wife was pregnant with our kid. And so it was interesting watching how he was slipping, how ALS was taking his body, and documenting his spiritual nature, his good-heartedness, his lovingness, and how like this disease was just robbing him of it. And then at the same end, watching my wife like grow a living being. And the moment we put the last bit of dirt onto his grave, she went to labor with our kid.
Wow.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
So it's one of those things like, just listen to life.
I
Don't
think
fight
that's
it.
very wise
Amazing.
advice. Okay, Lynn, we are almost out of time. Did you have something you wanted to say?
Oh, I just wanted to, thank you, Joyce, of course, thank our photographers. Thank everyone for coming and listening, of course. Media mentoring program is what came up so strongly today, was how to get your voice heard. And I think that's what we're trying to do, to help people, whether it's photography or opinion pieces or how to write a press release. So you can, get your voice heard. So this was our first media mentoring program for 2023, and we've got 3 more coming. So look for us. We'll definitely get the word out so you can find us. And thank you all again.
Thank you.
And you can always
Thank you. It was an
donate.
honor.
By the way, you can always donate to help us continue the program. Thank you all.